at Video 101 for recruiting is we're going to break down the importance of video, how to do your videos, and then ultimately we'll talk specifically about it might relate to positions itself. So let's get right to the meat of what we're talking about. And why has video become so important in the recruiting process?
Yeah. So even before people were very limited during the pandemic of 2020, video was already becoming a big piece to this. We were already doing this for the last 7 years prior to that. Video is an important piece because it's easier for programs, whether you're a professional program trying to recruit a youth athlete across the country, or you are a college trying to recruit an athlete across the state or even from town to town. Video helps even the playing field to find those athletes that you're looking for, because not everybody out there has a budget that they can go around and travel and send assistant coaches and recruiting coaches all around the world. So the first thing is the reason it's important to the coaching staff and why are coaches looking at your video, because it's easier for them to get on the hook and find players that are going to fit their program. So that's the first thing. That's why we're doing this, is because coaches see value in it, because it's easier for them. It's easier for you to get your foot in the door. So, but even with that, the video, we think about this with anything, right? Think about anything that you're going to do out there. You want to see the visual. If it's a place you're going to, if it's a person you're going to meet, right? The visual is the most important part. So video is going to give an honest representation. Okay. Christian, I can call you and ask you, hey, I'm really interested in this player to come play for my program. What do you think? You can say this or that, and obviously that goes a long way, right? If we have a relationship and you say, hey, my athlete here, he's 16 going on 17, really see him developing, he's starting to get some size on him, really think he would be a really good fit. You could take that, right? But taking my word for it doesn't give as much value as you seeing his highlight video, right? You seeing video of him playing at a high competitive level, that's going to go a lot further. So it's just going to give more representation of the athlete. So that's why video is so important. It's the best way to really start off the process, get your foot in the door, and start more conversations with a current recruiter that's looking for you.
Great. Now, Ryan, I want you to go ahead and just ask me the question, saying how come video is important for you as a college coach, or say something like, hey, knowing you're a college coach, Christian, why is video so important to you?
Okay. Yeah. So that's why I see video is so important from our world. But Christian, let's ask you, why is video, as a college coach, why is video so important to you?
Ryan, I'm glad you asked that question. And you mentioned already how the pandemic changed things. And really the pandemic did change how we go about recruiting. I was using video, still probably 10, 15 years ago. I remember when I used to get stacks of videotapes, and videotapes used to come into my office. And so you would have a stack this high in our office, and we'd have to plug them into the machine and watch the video. And then every year at the end of the year, you had to go trash those, and you'd start collecting again for the next year. But what happened during the pandemic is the only way we were able to evaluate players was really through video. In fact, the NCAA, I'm fortunate being at the junior college now, but the NCAA really limited coaches being able to get out and watch games. They weren't allowed to go out to games live. It was actually kind of nice going to tournaments when during that time period, because junior college coaches were the only coaches that were out and about, or the NAI coaches were the ones that were out and about, because NCAA coaches couldn't be. So first of all, the video became really important through pandemic. And, what the first budget to get cut during the pandemic from an athletic standpoint, in most cases, was the recruiting budgets. Mm-hmm. And so again, when I can't get out and go watch games as often, my budget's been cut, and some of those budgets have been slow to return. Are they returning? Yes, but they're slow to return. And the reality is, whether you agree with it or not, coaches have to manage the events they're going to. So they're not able to go to as many events as they used to. So they might only be targeting, the high level national type events. And they're missing out on some of the regional events that they used to go to on a regular basis. So that's another reason is it's just helped leverage the ability to see kids. I think the other piece, and what we'll talk more specifically down the road about sports reels specifically, but leveraging technology and how to deliver the video has changed drastically also. We're in a world that the technology that is out there, I can have video to a coach, or you as an athlete can have video to a coach immediately. And being able to get that video to a coach and keep that video updated if you're using the right tools is even more important. So I think when you ask the question, why has it become so important? It's actually allowed us to actually expand our reach as a coach and identifying players while managing our budgets. And so that's a real important piece. And again, obviously technology is a big component of it. I can actually see the highlight video, and if done correctly, I can ultimately see the whole game if I want to see the whole game. And so it's really important that we understand that. The next question I want to just kind of get into real quick with you is, as we start to talk about video, Ryan, and what the importance of it, we've talked about why it's so important. What are some of the most common questions you are receiving when it comes to producing a video highlight? I mean, you're getting questions on a regular basis. I get them when I talk to people, but I want to talk to the expert on this. What are those common questions that you're getting? Because if we understand the common questions, then we know how to handle doing video.
Correct. Yeah. Unless you've gone through it yourself, and well, not even if you've gone through it yourself, because that would have been so long ago. It's changed. But unless you've had a kid that's gone through it in the last year, you just won't know the answers to these questions. So let's talk about some of these. Number one, I'd say is an easy one. It's like, what is the timeline for video? How does that fit into the rest of your recruitment process? It depends exactly when you're starting. If you're starting, a good time to start getting your video and understanding your video is around your freshman to sophomore year. Just understanding like, hey, how do I record my games? Make sure I have video. And around that sophomore year, if you don't have a highlight video yet, you need to be starting to create that. So some people ask, like, when should I start? Well, I'd say starting your, if you're in high school, starting your senior year, it can be done, but it's not. Let's talk about our ideal timeline, right? Ideal timeline. You start getting some stuff together your freshman, sophomore year. By the time you get to your junior year, you've really got it locked down. You know how to make that video. It looks really clean. So when college coaches start reaching out and asking for it, and you've got those connections or the resources that you're using, like Complete Player Pathway, that video is locked in and it's good to go. So you want to have it good to go really in that transition of your sophomore to junior year. But it takes a little time to understand video. So timeline, freshman, sophomore year, make sure you're playing around with it, starting to understand it, building something nice so that before your junior year, you've got something really solid. So that's timeline. How frequent, if we're sticking kind of on that timeline, how frequent should we be sharing video and sending video? That we can talk about, like, so if you've sent a video, let's say you send a video out to coaches your sophomore year, okay? Or freshman or sophomore year. You're just going to send out videos. Frequency, you could probably send something out every season, right? So let's say you have a fall season and a spring season. You can send out a video from each season. As you get closer to your into your junior year and into your senior year, you can make those videos a little more frequent if you would like. And then so, if you don't want to wait a whole 6 months, if you want to put something together mid-season and send out some updates, you want to send something out end of season, that sort of thing. So you can make them more frequent as you go. The next part I'll kind of talk about is people ask is, how does video work with events, right? How does video work with showcases? How does it work with DCamps, all those things? If you're going to an event, 100%, absolutely, you want them to see you. Of course, they're going to see you live at the event, but you want to send video ahead of time. Okay, so you want to send video, if you can, at least a week out from the event, so they have time to see it, review it. So when you get there, they already have an understanding of your style of play, the type of player you are. If they want to reach out to any resources that you have before you get to the event, if they want to reach out to your club coach, if they want to reach out to Complete Player Pathway, whoever they want to connect with on that, they'll have the resources to do that. So it gives them a little bit of time. So when you show up, you where they've got a little bit of understanding versus someone else who's fresh and they just got to see them at the right moment at the right time, right? If they go to a showcase, if they've already seen you play a little bit, they've seen your video, now they see you live, they're going to give you a little more patience to see what you can do versus just giving you 2 minutes. And then if they don't see anything, they're walking away. So
Ryan, I want to stop you right there because you just dropped an incredible golden nugget, a piece of information that I know most parents and kids have probably never heard, and I don't know if they caught it. And the reality is they've been taught how to get hold of a college coach about, I'm going to be at such and such event. I mean, that's being taught to kids. We teach that in Complete Player Pathway. I think we go a little bit deeper in how we teach that in Complete Player Pathway and exactly the information that you share with them and how they can make sure to see you. And you can get that in Complete Player Pathway. But the golden nugget that you just dropped is, especially as we develop the video, if you are writing that letter, hey, coach, I'm going to be attending such and such event. I'd love to come and have you come and watch me. I see that you're in such event. These are the games I'm going to be playing in. This is a half I'm going to be playing in. To give you a little bit of idea of what I'm capable of doing, here's some video. Yes. I mean, listen, now you're giving the coach more of a reason to come see you. If your video's done right, you've literally given the coach more of a reason to say, I'm going to put this one down on my schedule because that's ultimately what I try to do. Here's the fact of the matter, guys. And I'm talking as a college coach. I don't go to an event without a plan. I'm not going to the event hoping I'm going to see somebody. I'm already going to the event with my plan in place, and I already know what games I'm going to go watch. I already know what halves of each game I'm going to go watch, and I'm going to know what players I'm probably going to go watch before I even get to the event, as well as my coaching staff has their marching orders on what they need to do. Now, if I happen to see another player because I'm sitting on the field at that particular event, that's bonus for me as a coach. But I didn't just sit on field 11 at 11 o'clock a.m. watching this game of Team A versus Team B, hoping to find somebody. I already know who I'm watching. So if you can create your video, like Ryan just said, in terms of he's talking about this timeline and how we introduce it, you've just opened the doors for more eyes on you live. So great piece. The other one, you talked and you hit on it at the very beginning, was just the importance of starting the video and starting to look at yourself. I just did a talk with one of our camps that we work with yesterday. And during this talk, I was talking about the idea of get comfortable being uncomfortable. And part of that is watching yourself play. Okay. Video doesn't lie, Ryan. I mean, it doesn't. Once it's recorded, it's showing you the great stuff, but honestly, it's showing you the stuff that you absolutely need to work on. And so you should be critical of yourself and understanding yourself, and even more so, asking somebody else to critique you. So as you start to create your highlights, you're in a major, major learning process about what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. And I think that's the value of starting this process, as you said, as early as their freshman year. So are there any other, is there at least one more common question that you often get from parents or from kids that are really in this world of trying to understand video?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try to keep it to just one. There's a lot of other common questions that are good tidbits, and just to follow up on that, what you said, like the whole idea with the freshman and sophomore year is to see yourself play, but also you start to figure out what's missing from my highlights. Like what is missing from my game of play that someone's looking for. Whenever the athletes we work with, we give a detailed analysis of that highlight video and we say, hey, these are things that you did really well that are your strengths that coaches like, but here are some things that we couldn't find that for your particular position and style of play, you may want to look at adding in as a part of your games and trying to work that in, because if you can get that's going to take your highlight reels to the next level. So again, it's getting it, like you said, freshman, sophomore year, getting it ready, reviewing yourself, and you can also see what you need to improve, but also what's missing altogether from your game. So I'd say if we did one more kind of question, this is a common one. Do I use school? Can I use school video? Do I use club video? Right? That's a common one that we get a lot. Okay. This is my answer. Use your most competitive film that you can. Okay. The most competitive video that you have. If you play for, let's say you play for both a high school team and a travel team. If your travel team, is a low level team, but you play for a really strong, big high school, like you might that high school film might be better than the club video. Now, more times than not, your club team is going to have more competitive matches. So you want to use that. But again, we work with a lot of soccer athletes that play for big state schools, or even when they play for maybe smaller schools or smaller private schools, they are making it to the state championship every year. So when they get into playoffs, they've got some really competitive games, or maybe there's still a couple competitive teams in their conference. We'll say, yeah, like if those are competitive and there's a lot of strong players there, absolutely you can use that. The whole goal is not necessarily club versus school, but it is how competitive are the games, right? If you're a sophomore in high school and you're playing against players that are seniors, a bunch of upperclassmen, like that might be a competitive level that you can show against that. So it's a even balance. I'd say, we always want to start and look at, if you have video for both, yeah, let's look at that club if you would say it's more competitive, but we always go to the athlete and ask them first, what is the most competitive play that you have? So that's kind of my answer there to that. And that's a common question that we get. Which video should we use, school or club?
Again, a great question, because I've actually seen club soccer video that they think, okay, I need to just show club, not high school. And they're not playing against a very good competition. Okay, remember, this is a highlight video. Yep. You're trying to highlight yourself, and you need to highlight yourself, as you just said, against the best competition. When I am watching that video, and what I am trying to get is making a determination on how much further I want to go with you in the recruiting process, and I'm making that determination in the first 30 seconds, right? And we're gonna in part two, Ryan. In part two, we're gonna get into the key components of the video. Okay, sure. So I'm not going to go into a lot of that today. We'll do that in part two, and you'll get that. But the point being that Ryan just made is your video, it needs to be the most competitive that you have. I've seen very competitive high school soccer, and if I see some good clips out of competitive high school soccer, I love it. I've seen very competitive club soccer. I want to see that and what that looks like. I get goalkeepers sometimes that are showing me, even training sessions, because a lot of times with the goalkeeper, you might not get everything in a game, but you can show me a high level, high intensity training session as a goalkeeper. Now, if you're just showing me the warm up, don't bother. But if we get into the high intensity session that you're doing, and maybe there's even competition that you're having within that training session, even as a goalkeeper, I definitely would like to see that type of thing. So the